Power on. Hello. We're getting ready to go. Are we ready to go? Hello, everybody. It's Georgia voting day. How's everybody feeling? Everybody's, I'm sure, on the edge of their seat. We'll be watching well into the night to see if this turns, into the fustercluck that it possibly could turn into. I'm sure that righteous patriots are descending upon Georgia to make sure that the votes of black people aren't counted again. They're not going to let that mistake be made twice. By God. And Liz in Scotland, thank you for joining us today, and well love you for denying Trump entry into your country. So, yeah, it's gonna be a crazy day. We'll all be watching it, I'm sure, biting our nails to see how the entire thing turns out. It's gonna be very exciting. It's not the end all be all. Obviously, some senators are gonna, because of the way things roll out, gonna come up for election in the next round as well. And so a lot of the decisions and behaviors you'll see happening over the next year and a half while we're kind of rebuilding from this will set the stage for whether or not those folks, some of those folks get reelected. And you can see that in who's signing on to this ridiculous ploy tomorrow and who isn't. And oh my gosh. So, Isle of Man, look at that. People just all over I think it's fantastic. Welcome to the show. If you're new here, I can't believe you are, because I do long-ass shows streaming on the internet talking about this stuff, and it's not the kind of stuff you stumble on. It just isn't. We're very word of mouth around here. So if you don't know what's going on, I basically long-form break down Trump and his camp's videos and Republicans, videos, so that no one can say they are being taken out of context. I do the entirety of the thing, just my interruptions and jokes throughout. But at no point, and if I'm ever wrong about what they say, I double back and correct myself. I seldom have to worry about that. And of course, we just basically farm trolls for the algorithmic boost. And that's basically the show. That's basically what we do here every day. And me in front of my concrete background, which I'm going to have a variation of. I've been working behind the scenes in Photoshop to create a couple of different environments for us to enjoy the show in. And yes, it serves as sort of a therapy thing for everybody to, things are stressful and hard enough. On top of that, we don't need a bunch of, Republican jackasses pretending something's going to happen. So can I just, everybody deep breath, let it out. Another one. And we let it out. That's good. One more last one. And on its way out, let me tell you that although wailing and gnashing of teeth, Republicans will amount to nothing tomorrow. The votes will be counted as they are supposed to be. They're not throwing out the Electoral College of other states. It's a joke. It's not going to happen. It won't happen. Don't worry about it. It's silly and ridiculous, and Mike Pence has no power, and this is just dumb. So enjoy it. Watch them try to screw with our democracy and be as mad as you want about the actions that they're taking and how disgusting they are, but just don't worry at the same time that it's actually going to have any real effect, because it's hilarious. And I think the most hilarious thing about the ploy tomorrow is that Trump is, if you could see him ratcheting up in his nervousness about it, both at the rally and on his phone call. Why is he so about it? Well, the reason he is because tomorrow is basically his last day to flim-flam his supporters out of some casheroony. Now, I guess, technically speaking, he could make up some sort of alternate inaugural story and sell that through the L. Linwood and the Cindy Powells of the world, and he absolutely will do that. But nobody is going to actually believe it will have any weight after this. There's some ghost thought around the OAN and Newsmax edges of the universe where people are like, maybe what happens if it actually happens? After tomorrow, none of the other, I'm going to have my own alternative version of life. Who gives a it's just dumb. He could hold his own inaugural ball at Mar-a-Lago and play president from now till doomsday. It won't matter. It won't matter. It's not going to matter. And I want you to breathe deep into this. I know they're trying to ratchet. Well, what if they could? And maybe it's a thing, but it could be. How about that? No. And by the way, thank you. Hello, Germany. Hello, Dublin, Ireland. Thanks to everybody overseas for watching us. Let me assure you guys one thing, because I know you've been rightfully laughing at us during our day in the darkness, as it were, with Donald Trump, and I understand we're a little silly. I get that. Why did my headphones just die? That's fun. All right, well, I'll switch to manual override. So I know it's funny. I know it's sad and disgusting, and we're afraid for democracy and blah 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 blah. I get it. Yes, that's all true. But I would also like to remind you that you guys had syphilitic kings and Adolf Hitler. So at some point, cut us some slack, okay? We had to go through this eventually. It had to happen. Eventually, we were going to go through our period where we have just an absolute nutcase. We're just catching up with you guys, all right? Get it? Yeah. So, same with the Irish and Robert the Bruce and just any of these syphilitic, bulbous, inbred, disgusting assholes who ran any given European country at any given time. We're just we're just catching up with you. There's nothing wrong with that. We feel your pain now. We understand it on the level. You can understand us. It's almost Napoleon, Mussolini, Hitler, all that, like Stalin. Just honestly, Putin currently, honestly, there's some countries that are worse than us right now. Hey, we just write them off as not even worth talking about in that regard. So for the record, simmer down and understand that we're just passing through this, and we will pass through, and all the concerns about the functioning structure of our government and, it's irreparable harm and yada, yada. The Germans can educate everybody on, quote, irreparable harms to, the governing philosophy of a country, because you guys actually came back from the worst of the worst kind of an edge and are doing fairly well. I would like to say congratulations. So amongst them, come on. It might take some time. It'll be annoying, and we'll have to peel out the Jim Jordans of the world, and who gives a shit. But ultimately, what's happening currently is that our democracy is surviving its worst stress test and fairly well. I don't think I'm losing my voice. I think it's okay. I think it's got a nice caramelized feature to it from talking nonstop. There's certainly some depth to it as well currently. But hype train, a level 5 hype train at 200%. Oh my God, you guys! Right out of the gate, look at that. And Zero Fire is hosting us. That's a rarity when we get hosted by someone else. Thanks. That's awesome. For one viewer, and it might just be them, but that's fine. I can live with that. Can you live with that? I can live with that. That's fine. So there's a couple of things. Obviously, we have a dose of Rudy today, which is just ridiculous, but kind of fun as well. Because I literally, folks, I can't. This is, I don't even know. Literally, when I checked this video just to see if we could cut to it and, okay, how much of it is there or whatever, because just to see what the volume is. I don't preload any of these things. I don't watch them beforehand, so I got to check just like a sentence of audio, and then I'm like, nothing, right? That's it. Thanks, Cammie. That literally, my first response when this video came up and the first sentence that came out, my response was, ew. Literally, I just was like, oh God, I'm completely grossed out. I was complete. All right, God, this is it. So he's on OAN, with Chanel Leon. Listen to this opening sentence and you'll see what I mean.
Giuliani, thank you so much for joining us here in Palm Beach.
Chanel. Top. Hold on, wait, back up. It's got to hear the top.
Mayor Rudy Giuliani, thank you so much for joining us here.
Oh, and his smile and her smile. I'm just, oh God, it's gonna be so awful. I can feel it. By the way, this is the lead off. Yeah, the mic's a little hot today. I like some of these videos are, modulated differently. The rally was really low, so I had to turn up the audio on my end and then turn my mic down. It was like, those little things, COVIDing my way through through production in here. Anyways, here we go.
In Palm Beach.
This is only 5 minutes, thankfully.
Your legal team has
team. Yeah, the elite strike
Really
force.
put a lot of focus and effort into lobbying and putting a spotlight on state legislatures.
Totally, because you don't have to, you can lie to them and get away with
In
it.
some key swing states. Tell us why.
Tell us why swing states. And of course, let me put a piece of video over this so we can edit out the fact that you farted right as I was asking you the first question.
These state legislatures are so important in the fight for election integrity.
The Constitution doesn't say the courts should decide the electors. It doesn't say the governor should certify the electors.
Oh boy.
It says the legislature.
What does it say, Rudy? What does it say? Does it say they may choose the manner in which the electors are chosen? Because that's what it legally says. Let's see if he gets it right.
Governor should certify the electors. It says the legislature should decide the electors. So our founding fathers said,
Yes, they can. It says the legislature may choose the manner by which the electors are chosen.
that's the body responsible for select.
Hold on. What? Please stop this fluffy God stuff. USA just telling senators they're old enough to understand, keep loving each other. Okay. All right. I don't know what that is.
Electing electors. It's their exclusive power. They call it a plenary power because it's complete. And the Supreme Court has even
They edited something out right there.
ruled that
They may seize it back at any time. If they passed it on via a law, they of course have to pass a law to seize it back because the laws that are created in the states actually matter under the electoral systems and the Supreme Court of and the legislatures of. Like, if the state legislature can unequivocally, just because one party controls it or the other, can just undo any law because of the belief of a plenary power put forward in the his belief about a plenary power, which we've already dealt with this before, but the state legislatures can choose the manner by which the electors are chosen, not that they are chosen and they don't have to choose loyalists. As a matter of fact, they can't. But we'll get on with it.
even though most state legislatures have delegated it,
Which they legally have the right to do, and to undelegate it because they've done it by passing laws and creating arms of government to do it. No, please go on.
to a governor
By the way, he has not dyed his hair today
or to a secretary of state,
at all.
they can take it back at any time. Right up
No, they can't. And your mic is rustling.
to the last minute.
Julie.
No, they can't. They can't undo a law they passed just because they regret it.
Giuliani says Georgia is closest to decertifying their electors because the evidence of fraud there is blatant and on tape.
The film clip in Georgia, which is 8 hours long,
It's 14 hours long.
shows you the theft
It's 14 hours long. It's 14 hours long.
of 130,000 votes for Biden. Biden only won by 10,000 votes.
It doesn't show anything of the sort.
That film clip alone reverses the election.
No, it doesn't.
Since the media, the big media, has decided
Well, thanks for calling me big media, Rudy. You little Tucker, you.
to put a wall of censorship up,
A wall of censorship up, which is why he's on a network that's on both a television network and the internet as well. And yeah,
so we can't communicate with the public.
you can't. Yeah, there's no way to communicate with the public. I mean, he's basically. And by the way, most of you don't know that behind the Iron Curtain of censorship is a giant suite at the Ritz-Carlton.
I couldn't go on NBC and describe this,
You can, but they won't have you back because you're lying.
even though it's true,
No, it isn't.
and even though I have a tape recording to prove it.
No, you don't.
The top obstacle in Georgia is Republican Governor Brian Kemp,
Which, talk about shitting the bed from a GOP standpoint.
who refuses to call a
By the way, Santa in the visor, Big Beard Michael Stipe, however you want to call him, fantastic. Just as signers go, we have a new star.
special session. Giuliani says it's because Kemp
Please use cool graphics.
knows what the Georgia
A pen, obviously a signed piece of something. An
legislature
investors
will
shall
do.
take place. Okay, just stock footage of investment video.
The rank and file, senators and representatives, are, if not unanimously, overwhelmingly convinced
They're not even close to unanimously or overwhelmingly convinced.
that there was major fraud in their states
No, they aren't.
and are ready to decertify.
No, they're not.
And some of them are ready to certify Trump as the winner.
Yeah, sure. Those would be different people. Who amongst this crowd would want to decertify the election and not certify Trump? You know, I actually think Biden won, but I don't trust that he won by enough, so I want to decertify it so that you can lose more, Rudy. But I want Trump to pay for the recount because we want some of that sweet $3 million Wisconsin money where you guys bought 89 Biden votes.
In Georgia, it is possible to call a special session.
Terms and conditions. And thought to prepare the I mean, obviously, this stock footage is just pitiful. There's a gavel, reading glasses. The papers are all over the floor. Clearly, there was a fight that broke out in chambers, and there's a dead judge nearby. I don't know what murder mystery clue we're seeing here. This looks like the cover of a bad, legal thriller.
Without the governor, but it falls again.
But, it's sweet panning footage. So, and it allows her to cut away from Rudy as he squeaks off another one in this suite that that Republican Trump supporters are paying for.
On one person, a Republican.
The main decision maker there is the Speaker of the House, David Ralston. The Senate has a large number of members that are ready to vote.
But not enough to actually overturn the law that gave the manner in which electors are chosen to the election commission in the state.
The Senate Judiciary Committee voted on a report which outlines...
Why are you staring off into the distance? This is a 5-minute interview. Get to it, COVID brain.
Hundreds of thousands of...
Is it a Four Seasons? I don't quite know. I mean, I don't know what their Chinese vase in her, collection is like. What did they purchase? Oh, that's like snacks in the room. Yeah, there's a coffee cup and a little, enjoy a free cup of coffee on us for using the suite.
Votes in voter fraud.
What the fuck? All right.
Outlines in detail how Trump actually won.
Does it now?
Including, of course, kind of easy because it's on tape.
Yeah, it's totally easy.
Right. You can actually see it on tape. But then beyond that 120,000 votes there's at least another 300,000 votes.
Ralston.
Yeah, it just cut away right about the time he said there's just another 300,000 votes because he was going to have to say where, and that's such raging bullshit that it's best to just listen to how, tight that cut was.
120,000 votes there's at least another 300,000 votes.
Ralston.
But jump in there.
Approved of a committee to investigate
Wes.
these votes. The conclusion was unanimous and included a Democrat. The elections in Georgia were fraudulent and should be decertified. Speaker Ralston is either acting the coward or ignorant of his constitutional duties.
Dun, dun, dun. Acting the coward.
The Constitution of the United States
Says what?
says the buck stops with the state legislature.
No, it doesn't. She's like, Lord Jesus, why did I end up here? I could have taken that job at CBN. It's so much easier, and his breath is melting my fake eyelashes right off my face. Lord.
So, Mr.
By the way, the buck does not stop with the state legislatures.
Ralston is the Speaker
Thank you,
of
Elizabeth.
the House. He's the highest ranking official. And
No, he's not.
he's
The Speaker of the House, the governor is the highest ranking official in the government of a state.
so far refusing to call a session
Because there's no reason to.
because he says the governor has to do it, or he's got to get all these extra votes for a special session.
Right.
The simple
Thank you, Courtney Ann.
fact is every constitutional scholar in this country would tell him
That he's doing it right, and that Rudy Giuliani is talking out of his ass.
that he doesn't need a special session
Yeah, he does.
because he's not exercising power under the state constitution.
Yes, he is.
The power that he's exercising comes from the United States Constitution.
No, it doesn't. Okay, so states have the abilities to make and pass laws within they either use the Dillon rule or they, which is whatever automatically is established by the state. Like the federal government established a certain number of laws, and you can either operate under the idea that anything that the federal government doesn't make a law is not a law. It is automatically legal, any behavior. If they don't mention it specifically. Most states have within them a secondary tier of laws for their state that protect against those gaps legally and have built up over time. The state legislatures, as we started, using trains and shit, started passing, and the number of people in a particular state has ballooned into the hundreds. Oh, thank you, babe. The hundreds of thousands and then into the millions over time, started building up their government to deal with the size of the electorate. So they created an election commission and other offices just to deal with the infrastructure jobs that didn't exist when there were like 12 people running the goddamn place. And the Constitution, the founding fathers, which they all love to throw about, thanks. They all know that they knew at the time that the volume of country was going to grow, and we can't necessarily predict how many people will have to govern. So we give the states not just the right to choose the electors, for example, in the Electoral College, but the manner in which. That's the part that Rudy Giuliani keeps pissing on all the time. The manner in which they are chosen, right? The clause he likes to cite and where he says the buck stops here and all that kind of shit. Well, the manner in which almost every state has chosen, including and especially the swing states he's talking about, but the manner in which they have created, in many ways, over 100 years to choose the electors is by using an election commission or the Secretary of State establishing a certain people, or the governor gets to appoint a bunch of people because it's just a free trip to Washington. That shit has happened all over the time. Now, what Rudy doesn't understand is that the federal government gives the state a right or freedom or an action it has to take, right? And the state takes that action, and then it has its own constitution that establishes the validity and permanence of its laws, wherein if you have a law on a Georgia state law under the federal law, but that stands up as a Georgia state law that's been and that goes for Georgia's budget, all kinds of shit. If you at any time rule on that law as a bill and pass it, we, the Senate here in Georgia, pass a law that the choosing of the electors shall be made by the, an action of the governor's office and the Electoral Commission. And it is a perfunctory job, and we, with great blah, 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 and here is and therein. And if you want to undo that, you have to follow the laws of the state because that ship has sailed. You cannot seize extrajudicial powers over the governor, the lieutenant governor, the secretary of state, and every, in the hierarchy of people who run the state. You can't seize power from them as the state legislature. You have given that power away, and the mechanics of it. If you want to overturn it, somebody has to present a bill, a timely bill, by the way. You can't do it after the election. This would only appeal to elections going forward. Even if they called a special session, it would only be able to deal with the election going forward because they would still have to undo the law. So they would have to, the entirety of the Georgia state legislature said this whole election commission thing was bullshit. We should be able to appoint our own electors. We'll pick them individually. And following the U.S. Constitution, which means they can't be making money off the state or have anything to gain or whatever, and that part of it, which they would obviously, most of them would go to jail for, but because they would violate it, immediately. But because they passed it as a law within the state, Georgia state law says that you got to go through all the regular perfunctory order to undo a law. Otherwise, all laws in Georgia are basically defunct, and any state legislator with with a simple majority could just call a special session and flush the whole thing. It's the dumbest. Like, I don't understand because whether he, well, this is the thing. I don't understand how he can't know this other than just willful ignorance. And the Georgia Attorney General's resignation is the fact that he was asked to do something illegal, he refused to do it, and the guy coming in won't have the power to do it anyways. It's just silly. It doesn't. It's, again, don't fret this stuff. Just watch it with a grotesque bemusement. Seriously. Rudy Giuliani is asking these state legislators, but not, in Pennsylvania and Georgia, Wisconsin, all these states, to violate their own state's constitution and seize federal power. Okay, hold on. Wait 1 second. I mean, honestly, the Facebook, like, I can make your many dreams come true crap is hilarious. I mean, it's a good sign. Clearly, I'm getting all these, people showing up in my chat who are like, send me your bank PIN number. And I will do a magic spell on it. I will make all your money disappear. So over the course of this, like, just understand that he either is willfully ignorant about it or is genuinely dumb. Now, I rule personally for genuinely dumb. I don't think Rudy Giuliani understands this at all. Thanks, Janine. If there's a scammer alert and you guys see them in there, please type in the name so that I can hunt them down in the chat room. Otherwise, it takes a long time, to get rid of these folks. So, because I have to like read text and then half the time, done, delete. There we go. Fixed. So, thank you. So in the course of this, I think I got him. So don't think for a second he knows like what the hell he's. I think he seized on what a stupid mistake and just can't let it go.
He and they can set any set of rules they want to set.
No, they can't. Without invalidating statehood.
It's not the governor actually has no role in it.
Yes, he does. Or she does, in the case of Michigan.
Giuliani says it's political suicide for a Republican to take a lukewarm stance in this election fight.
Yes, it is political suicide. Don't play footsie with Rudy Giuliani. Run as fast as you can towards democracy.
But worse, to actively obstruct it.
I like Mr. Ralston very much. I know him for a long time. I have great respect for him.
Apparently not.
On the other
hand, I need him to break the law for me.
And it's getting late and he hasn't moved yet. And I really do think, as I told the legislature the other day.
Yeah, what'd you tell them? I'm sure it was fascinating. Were they rapt at attention?
This is going to live with you forever.
Yes, that's why they're not doing it.
In Georgia, the fraud is demonstrable.
No, it isn't. Well, other than obviously, obviously Trump himself, is committing fraud. His phone call was demonstrable fraud. I think that we can all agree on that. There you go. You know what I mean? Whoops, hold on. Seriously. We're just getting spammed like crazy in there. It's hilarious. Done. Delete. There you go. Yeah, thank you. I got that one fairly quick. I was very proud of myself.
In Georgia, the fraud will live forever because it's captured on camera.
No, it isn't.
It's like the Zapruder film of the Kennedy assassination.
You mean it doesn't show the actual where the actual shot came from, and people will question it forever because it looks like. Right. It looks like the first people who described it are actually lying about what it actually shows.
Look back 5 years from now and say,
can you believe Trump was actually president? That was awful and hilarious
Why didn't they do something about this in
before he got elected.
Georgia? If they don't do anything about it, they're going to say this was a terrible miscarriage, and who blocked
A miscarriage. Say of justice, you weirdo.
it from a vote? Well, the majority leader in the Senate
Okay, he just... you can't one-cheek sneaker in the middle of this. It's not right.
also has to be.
It's just... How dare you, sir?
Well, the majority leader in the Senate also has to be put on.
Sorry, that was completely unprofessional and hilarious. Oh, God.
Put on the spot of making a decision here. But
Obviously, it's making his eyes water.
mostly, I'm told Mr. Ralston could get this done. Bring it to a vote.
Yeah.
Let's
Look, they just cut out another
get
sentence.
the members to vote. I think the American people and the people of Georgia are entitled to that. I know the President of the United States is entitled to a vote.
No, he isn't. He was. He got one in November, and he frigging lost.
And I don't know why a Republican
I mean, that was dead on. The timing of... You have to say, my timing was pretty sweet on that one.
would want to block a vote on this ridiculous argument that you have to have a special session under state law.
It's not a ridiculous argument. If you still... Well, it's ridiculous unless you still want to have a state. If you don't want to cede the entire territory as an adjunct piece of federal property, like a state. Let's turn Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada into state parks. Why don't we? That is absolutely what Rudy Giuliani is arguing for right now.
When you're
Oh boy.
operating under federal law, this power does not come from the state of Georgia.
Yeah, it does. They gave it away under state law, and they would have to take it back however state law functions. Dipshit.
The power to select electors comes from the United States Constitution.
And the manner by which you choose it is left up to the states. And the states have passed it on to electoral commissions. And they can't just seize it back when they think they've lost.
David Ralston has yet to respond to OAN for comment.
Really? Maybe he just doesn't have the right number. What is it? What's that number again? 1-800-DIPSHIT? How do you dial in? Can I respond on his behalf? I have a message from the Speaker of the House in Georgia. Yeah,
as to why he won't call a special session in Georgia.
Wait, he won't call you about why he won't call a special session? This guy won't return anybody's call.
In our next interview with Julian...
I did, Amy, and thank you for the books as well. They just arrived. The mail was delayed quite a long while, and thank you for the book for Camden as well. Bless you.
Giuliani, we highlight individuals blocked...
Oh, and we have a dog passage in our, Odie the dog passed away, not ours. One of Deirdre, whose dog passed away. Just very sad. One of the folks who regularly watches the show lost Odie. Sorry, Odie, and Odie's family and owners and all that learned to love Odie.
blocking the fight in Arizona and Michigan. Chanel Vian, One American News, the White House.
She's using real news pacing when she's doing her stand-ups, which I really appreciate. Wouldn't you just say? She's just 14. No. Okay, so there was where are we going to go? Okay, so okay, let me find. So this dude, Jesus, this is one of the big City Pal Kraken Army. This guy, I'm not going to play you. This is a waste of time. It's only like 2.5 minutes. But the whole thing, is to get him to get you to click on this little thing and go to Stop 2020 Fraud. This is the hashtag fight back. Take action, fight 2020 election fraud. We must protect election integrity. And they want you to sign this whole thing. And this is signed, very truly yours, concerned citizens and patriots. I didn't realize you could sign things in plural by yourself. But okay, this is there's a bunch of funny in here, but the privilege of sitting as a U.S. state's senator was bestowed upon you by your constituents. This privilege, as you know, comes with the responsibility to honor, serve, and represent your constituents in all matters. Yeah, but not all constituents in all matters. You don't have to file every, loser document into the public record and fight the election because 10 nutcases in your state do, that's just goofy. Anyways, this was the part that excited me. See the evidence. You know how many times we've waited for Rudy Giuliani to post some stuff? Well, there you go. This is the evidence. This is a letter sent. That's what you're signing. And then this is the attached to the letters to the Senate. This whole thing, this is what you're signing. That was on that other page, which has a bunch of boxes on it that you can just sign anywhere in these boxes. These are all jagged. Am I signing in this box? Depends on how big your signature is. Charles Silva for the Young Patriots, a.k.a. Carlos E. Silva, Esquire. Obviously, no relation to Fred Silva or, of course, Carlos Mencia or Charles. Okay. So, anyways, here's the evidence. Crack. Here we go. This is evidence. Remember, evidence. See, we clicked on a thing that said, "See the evidence." This is evidence. Okay. Exhibit A, a letter to Congress from Carolyn Maloney, who wrote to the Department of Treasury in 2006. Remember what your iPhone looked like in 2006? Concerned about the acquisition of Sequoia voting systems by Smartmatic. Smartmatic's possible connection to the Venezuelan government poses a potential national security risk in the context of its acquisition of Sequoia because electronic voting machines are susceptible to tampering and insiders are in the best position to engage in such tampering. She was very worried about Smartmatic. And this is evidence, remember. Her concerns are evidence. She's very concerned. So if you need evidence of concern, there it is. And Smartmatic was, of course, only used in one county, Los Angeles County, which no one, if you're going to steal a county for Democrats, I don't know why you would focus only on a county that is going to go to Democrats. Also, again, you're going to see a whole lot of 2001, 2006 stuff in this as far as oh my God, these machines. Think how far computers have come and security technology has come in that time. Just say every year, every update, every time you get an iTunes update, every security update your computer has gone through, as they patch holes. No one is using the same security on their browser that they were using in 2006 by how many numbers? How many versions? Right. But hey, Exhibit A is a concerned letter from a Trump sycophant from way back in 2006 that she wrote to the Treasury. All right. Exhibit B, Texas Review of Dominion. Oh, you mean the state that's using the ES&S machines, which have less of a paper trail? There we go. And let's see what we'll look ahead to this when they've got it actually in there. Exhibit B, State of Texas reviewed the Dominion voting machines system software, Democracy Suite 5.5A. That version of it. The examiner reports multiple hardware and software issues that preclude the Office of the Texas Secretary of State from determining the Democracy 5.5 satisfies each of the voting system requirements set forth in the Texas Election Code. Of course, the primary one being that the governor has to have stock in the company. Which would, that's that if you want to get something. Exhibit C, affidavit of Juan Carlos Cobucci. His cousin, Antonio Jose, the owner of Smartmatic, which was, I believe, acquired and no longer exists in its original form. But okay, the owner of Smartmatic admitted that he was able and had manipulated the voting machines during the Venezuelan election of Hugo Chavez. It's the ghost of Chavez machine. Antonio Jose also admitted he purchased Sequoia systems in the United States to control the United States elections. Now, one would think that if you were putting it in as evidence, you would actually have an actual recording of or statement from the actual owner, who obviously denies the nonsense. But, but having the cousin of him say, oh, that's totally what he said. That's evidence. Exhibit C. Exhibit D, declaration of Ana Mercedes Diaz Cardoza, career official for 25 years at the National Election Council in Venezuela. She discovered that Smartmatic voting system contained two-way communication functions that allow for manipulation. And again, Smartmatic doesn't work with Dominion, only did it in LA County. We're almost at the end. We got one. Please bring it home. Ronald Watkins, declaration. I do declare of Ronald Watkins, a network and information security expert. The software is designed, whether with malicious intent or through plain incompetence, in such a way as to facilitate digital ballot stuffing via simply vote manipulation. Is that like Simply Safe? Simply vote manipulation? Simple. I mean, it's a legal document you're filing in court, and it has to do with the election of the presidency of the United States. So, yeah, you're going to expect some typos. That's got it. Okay. And abuse of digital adjudication to facilitate digital ballot stuffing via simply vote manipulation and abuse of digital adjudication manual review system. Would there be a the in there? All right. I mean, considering this is a Sidney Powell document, the fact that we got nearly to the end without it sounding like someone dictated this with a staple through their tongue, I think we're doing okay. Here's the exhibits. Exhibit A, bow, bow, bow. The letter. She's very concerned. I'm writing to follow up on my letter of May 4th. Why don't you have the original letter to Secretary Snow, seeking review by the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States for the acquisition of voting systems by Smartmatic, a foreign-owned company. Dun, dun, dun. I believe this transaction raises exactly the sort of foreign ownership issues that CFIUS was best positioned to examine for national security concerns. Which they did. It is undisputed that Smartmatic is foreign-owned and it has acquired Sequoia, one of the three major voting machine companies doing business in the United States. Which is weird because they bought another company and then ended up doing one county in this election. But, hey, May 2006, people, come on. They did the 2004. So basically, we need to redo the 2004. So you're saying Kerry won. Is that where we're rolling? Okay. So anyways, she's very concerned. Carolyn Maloney is very upset in this one. This is exhibit. Well, she's not now. She was in 2006, obviously. Like most of us were with 3G. Exhibit B, Ruth Hughes, report on the review of the Dominion voting system security suite. This is pretty great. October 2nd to 3rd, 2019. This wasn't at all a time, when Trump was trying to make sure that they were able to win in the next year and worked with Republican governors to make sure that they had a system in place in Texas, a state he almost lost. Whoops. I went back up there. It's an updated version of the Democracy Suite 5.5 system. Well, that's hence the A, which was denied certification by the office in June 20th. So they were sent back to the drawing board. They came back. Has been evaluated at an accredited independent voting system laboratory for conformance to the 2005 voluntary voting system guidelines, or the vote suppression matrix of Texas Bill 2005. Democracy 5 was okay. Blah, blah, blah. Components of it are as follows: the election management system, the adjudication, the ImageCast Central, the ImageCast X BMD, and the ImageCast Precinct, a precinct scanner, a ballot marking device, and a central scanner. Okay. Following are the findings based on this. The examiner reports identified multiple hardware and software issues that preclude the system in the case. Specifically, the examiner reports raise concerns about whether the Democracy Suite 5.1 is suitable for its intended purpose, operates efficiently and accurately, and is safe from fraudulent or unauthorized manipulation. Therefore, that's not specifically. Those are your concerns. It raises concern. The examiner reports raise concerns. So they kicked it out based on the concerns raised, but not the actual problems. If aliens, right, that's the aliens part. So I hereby deny certification to Dominion, and of course, ES&S has the entire state. Okay, Exhibit 11B, the same letter sideways, just in case you had trouble getting it in your rectum in its original form. Exhibit C, a lawsuit filed by L. Lynn Wood. Exhibit D, statement by her that's she's from Venezuela and she's very concerned about Venezuela and us becoming Venezuela, and how she was in Venezuela when Venezuelan things happened, and now she's afraid that Venezuelan things will happen here because she declares that it could be. This is the end concept here. I mean, you can read it if you want to. I'll post the link if you want to. In the 16 years since I left my post as Director General of Political Parties at the National Electoral Council of Venezuela, I've studied the electoral systems of Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, and I've observed elections participate in pro-dramatic form. Colombia, Ecuador, Honduras, and Nicaragua. I've also studied, okay, cool, she's great. Based on my specialized experience with electoral systems, I have a firm view that no legitimate electronic voting system should be allowed to have the ability of two-way communications to send data and instructions between central tabulation operations and voting machines over telephone lines or the internet. None of the machines do. Having such characteristics compromise the integrity of the entire voting process by allowing injection of data instructions to manipulate voting before, during, and after an election, and to avoid it. Yeah. They don't. The unofficial tabulation machines are connected to the internet so you can upload them to CNN and the governor's mansion. They don't actually affect the official count. And there's Ronald Watkins. He's an adult of sound mind. We'll see about that. He's reviewed the technical materials. This guy who read the Dominion manual. This is the evidence, by the way. During the ballot scanning process, the ImageCast Central software will detect how much of a percentage coverage of the oval was filled in by the voter. The Dominion customer determines the threshold at which the oval needs to be covered by a mark in order to qualify as a valid vote. If a ballot has a marginal mark which did not meet the specific threshold set by the customer, then the ballot is considered a problem ballot and may be set aside into a folder named non-cast images. The ImageCast Central's advanced, yeah. What is the hanging chads of bulbs? I conclude that a biased poll worker without sufficient and honest oversight could abuse the adjudication system to fraudulently switch votes for a specific candidate. After the tabulation process, so we can't trust any of Trump's numbers, is what you're saying. After the tabulation process, the ImageCast Central saves a copy of the tabulation results to a Windows 10 Pro machine's internal storage. The result data is located in an easy-to-find path, which is designed to easily facilitate the uploading of tabulation results to flash memory cards. The upload process is just a simple copying of a results folder, but it has to match it, and there's a trail. The copy process uses the standard drag and drop or copy paste mechanisms. Yeah, visually it looks fine. It is my conclusion that while this is a simple procedure, the report results process is subject to user error and is very vulnerable to corrupt manipulation by a malicious administrator. Yeah, because you'd have to have somebody go in there and rewrite all the code to hide that you cut and paste something. Because most people look at their computer and they're like, I moved it from the desktop to the trash. It's gone forever. You're like, no, it's still in the hard drive, dummy. And you can tell when it was moved and who signed into the computer and moved it. And yeah, it's just goofy. So, I declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States that the foregoing is true and correct, executed in Japan. Okay. On November 24th, 2020, no signature. Now, granted, I'm sure they have a signed copy somewhere, for the heck of it. But, it's just evidence. It's evidence. This is Exhibit A. It's not, I declare under penalty of perjury that I won't sign this unsigned. Like, all the other ones are signed. Why isn't that one signed? Where is it? And then, of course the Pennsylvania, at least 600,000 illegal votes. This is Section 2. This is the part, this, by the way, is the stuff that the pieces of this are what Trump was reading on his phone call. That's where all that stuff came from, by the way. Just for the record. Okay, so this is just, we don't have to go through the whole thing, but if you ever want to look at it, I'll post it online. It's ridiculous. It's the same thing they've been, like, it's supposed to, like, make you go, oh my God, look at all this stuff. These are the ballots mailed on or before 9/11/2020. That total is 27,000. Oh my God, that's like, there's only 12,000 difference. Mails November 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, that's 8,000 with no mail date. Gee, it's almost as if people picked those up in person. Look at, these are the ones that were mailed because they were already registered. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just stupid. These are all the individual legislators in Pennsylvania. Yeah. That were like, we don't even understand our own laws. Perp. Jesse Richard Morgan. Remember the undersigned investigator? Oh, okay. Today is the 23rd. It's Dean Smith making a recorded statement affidavit from Jesse Morgan. Mr. Morgan, where I'm recording the conversation. Yes, I am. And I have your permission? Yes, you do. For the record, could you just state your full name, date of birth? Jesse Richard Morgan. Birthday 9/10/83. And your current address? Well, I don't know why wouldn't you redact that on this poor guy's thing? For the record, I mean, you know what I mean? Because this is out on the internet. This isn't the part you filed. Just redact the poor dude's stupid. And for the record, this is the address where, they were at his house when they recorded this. So they came to him. That was nice. Your position as a truck driver? Yes, tractor trailers. I haul mail. That was the guy who was the Gaylord's dude. This is Captain Gaylord. That's great. Does he say it in there? Are you assigned the vehicle or truck? Yes, I'm assigned one. Does anybody have access to the truck beside you? No, no one does. How about the trailer? You assigned a trailer? Not assigned. The trailer, I've been having the same trailer. I've had the same trailer. I got the trailer and I had it for a month continuous. Nothing wrong with it. Great trailer. Usually after that, if I would get a bad trailer, I'm not going to jump too far forward here. But if I get a bad trailer, what I do is, my door that I pull that trailer, I pull it in door 35 or 33, so that way they have to pull it, and then they pull it over to the drop lot, and then whenever someone else will come back or whatever, then they'll move their trailer over to my section. So is that the way it's done? You let them know, I do not want this trailer. No, I don't say that. It's just the way, it's how I figured out how it worked. If he just drove it down and then drove away and then parked at another door, they would attach a different trailer. I just figured it out. So how long have you had this trailer for? This one or the prior one? You want me to repeat the question? The prior one, I had it from the end of September all the way to October 21st. We grew very close. All right, so let's talk about October 21st. What happened that day? You explained earlier that you go, pick your cab up at Lancaster. You park that where? It's behind a car lot, but the car lot, Auto 1, it's in Lancaster. I get the streets mixed up. It's either Manheim or Harrisburg, but it's not like I drive for a living anyways. But so you pull in the parking lot, and you'll see there's 4 of our trucks sitting there. The name of the place is One Auto, Auto 1. Auto or Auto 1, something like that. Evidence. Is it a gated area where you park your tractor? Yeah, they have a gate there, but it's always open. So it's not quite gated then, is it? It's not really a gate if it's always open, is it? I mean, I don't want to split hairs. This is a legal document. The polls are going to close in a minute. It's very exciting. Okay, are there any video cameras or security cameras on the vehicles? On the trucks? That we do have cameras inside the trucks that face the road and also face the driver. I cannot see... I can see not from the gated part, but it's a car lot, so I'm pretty sure they have cameras somewhere on the outside of those. I had never looked for them, though. So you pick your tractor. You do your pre-check. Then you drive over to the post office. How far away is the post office? And is it the Lancaster post office? Or is there only one Lancaster post office or more? I don't... This is a main distributor, so I don't know if they have a little sister ones around or not. This is the main distribution center, yes. Printed out on this map, there's a couple of different ones. Look at the names, addresses. It would be this one here, 1400 Harrisburg Pike, or Manheim. I get the roads mixed up. I don't really know. So the car lot where I parked the tractor would be on Manheim Pike. I know you're riveted. This is evidence. Polls are closed in Georgia. Here we go, boy. Georgia race too close to call. Of course, it'll be that way for a while. They still got mail-in votes that are going to be coming in. A lot of early voting, though. So So very exciting. Tell me how that works as far as how you pick up your daily load. This is it. This is the big monologue. This is the evidence, guys. This has to be it. How do you pick up your daily load? This is the guy who gave the Gaylord testimony. All right. So usually whenever I get there, this is the process, is I pull in and I'll back up under the trailer. I will hook up all my lines, lift up the landing gear, put my four-ways on. I put my four-ways on this, a trick, okay? So put four-ways on because they can look back at where the loading dock is, and if you see both flashing against the building, you know that you're working. If you do not see that, or you can only see one, you know one of your taillights are out. All right, so you got to get that fixed. Tell them, hey, I am not trying to get a fine, and fines double if it is a tractor trailer. They either fix it or switch out the trailers. I always have my badge, so they'll go and scan my badge, and I know it was like they will assign it to my run, and which my run is 611. 611 leaves out of Lancaster, right? I will go over to the trailer. If they were not done loading it, I will stand there and wait. And I always watch just so that way I'm making sure that's loaded right. I do not want one side of the trailer loaded heavy, one side loaded light. I don't want that, you know. I want it spread out. If it's spread out, it benefits you two ways, okay? If you're heavy on one side and you go around a bend, it's the first time I'm seeing this shit. Please. If you go around a bend, you have a higher chance of rolling. That's physics. All right. If it's spread out, it's a smooth ride. You put all that weight at the tail end of your trailer. Okay, one, you probably get a ticket if you go on a weight station, but it makes for the most miserable ride because the whole time you're just bouncing because you're going like your trailer's going like this, you know? Jesus Christ. So always make sure they load it right. And then after they're done loading, I go and I strap up. And then the guy who prints me out my 2 tickets, I call them tickets. Some people call them slips. I call them tickets because they look like a little ticket. I might have a few here if you want to look. Look at it. Does that look like a ticket to you or a slip? Tell me. Do you have any from the 21st? No, I tried finding it. Shit. Do you have the slip or the ticket that would prove you were actually there on the day we're actually talking about? No, I tried finding it. I do have my October 7th and 10th tickets. That didn't help us. That's a full couple weeks. That doesn't, why would you think? All right. I took my car to the garage to get it worked on. I got cleared out everything. Sir, can you keep it? And he got up and left. Look, it's his line. So this is clearly he got up, walked away. I think I threw it away. I could find these two. All right. So I went to see. Okay. So this is 10-10 and 10-7. So right here is trailer 10R1440. So I had to trailer those dates. Okay. So I just wanted to see it, like it. I mean, I had this trailer continuous, amount of time, but these are the tickets. So I'll explain to you. Here's my route number. I'm always on route 17091. And then my trip. So this one, I was loaded up. I left Beth Page. She's a chick I dated over there in Lancaster. She just likes postal truckers. And I was loaded. 100%. Leaving out when I left Lancaster to go to Beth Page, I was loaded at 34%. Then there's this van where it says van number is the trailer. See it here. See here. It's my name. I think this is the time when I'm supposed to leave. Good. This is evidence. Are you listening? So when Rudy Giuliani says we have lots of evidence, they have lots of this. On and on and on. Look at hundreds of pages. This shit is 28 pages long. I wanted to say it. Look at this. So how did you know these were mail-in ballots being loaded in your trailer? I could see there were mail-in ballots that were already used. You could see the names in the return corner of the envelope. There was a strange blue marking on the envelope. What do you mean? It was some kind of blue mark. I want to say design, but kind of like a blob or something. Like towards the middle of the envelope kind of thing. And then there was writing. Was it an insignia? Was it something professional? Or is it just a blob? Or is there something somebody put a marker on? No. It looked kind of like how they were all uniformed like that. Were all the markings uniform on the envelopes? I guess they all look the same on all the envelopes. Same spot on all the ballots. Now remember, these are boxes of ballots. They're stacked in like this. Unless you're Biden going through. I don't know why you would. When you say you knew there were ballots, were there any names on the ballot? The envelopes had vote printed on it, and there were names written in the corner. In the return area address of the area of the envelope, so they're already filled out by somebody? Yeah, already filled out. The return address, were they written in by hand? Yeah, they were written in by hand. So you know these were ballots that were already cast. Yes. I do not think they were blank ballots being shipped out. When I was looking at them, by the way, these are Pennsylvania ballots. He's driving them back to Lancaster from New York when he gets them. When I was looking at them, it didn't even dawn on me. And I feel like such a klutz now. It didn't even dawn on me. And then that's when she came over. She's like, this one really wanted to make her their ballot count. Oh, Jesus. And she is like, this one really wanted to make her their ballot count because they got their mail-in ballot registered mail. So like you saw the big red stamp, it was registered certified mail. So that way they could track it to make sure it was going to go wherever it was going to go. One would presume wherever he was driving the truck. And they put that in a trailer as well, and that was in a bin, and that at the end of the trailer by the door. So that was in the trailer as well. Pages and pages. And we're not even into the Melissa Carone stuff. I mean, look at this. Seriously. I went to work, all right? So when I get to work, it's dark out, all right? It's dark in the parking lot, and I carry my book bag. And I usually have like a gallon of water that I'll carry. I'll fill it up, and I'll drink it throughout my day. Like I usually go in, and I'll set this stuff, my book bag on the ground. Usually I throw the book bag on the seat with my water, and I'll set the book bag on the ground. I'll set the bottled water on the ground, and then I'll sit on the seat, and then I'll go, okay. And so whenever I left and I'm going back, I get back, I'm logging off duty and everything. I'm getting all my stuff and I pick up my book bag and there's this bubble wrap bag like that would hold like an electronic device. And I'm like, what? I've never seen this in my truck before, right? I've been in this truck. I'm basically leaving for the trip from my house. I'm in the truck, it's nighttime. So I've never seen it before. And I'm sitting on the floor of the truck. I pick it up and I'm like, what the heck? And then like, as I'm looking at the floor of the truck, I see what looks like ashes at first. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, where is there all these ashes in my, why is there all these ashes in my truck? And I reached down, picked it up, and it's plastic. And the piece I picked it up was like a pigtail, like if somebody took a drill and drilled into something and in plastic and the pigtail came out like, that's why I picked it up. And I'm like, what? And so for the cab like a drill, and I couldn't find anything. And I look like where my steering column is, and I'm looking at my knee, and I can see that the plastic, so like underneath the steering wheel, the panel is like pulled out something. So like I pulled on it, and it just came almost like all the way. This guy disassembled his own truck cab. So like I pull in, and I noticed that some of the clips are broken, which it was never like that before. And then like I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So I'm like, someone bugged my truck or something like that. This is like this is getting really crazy. Like I'm not trying to sound paranoid or something like that, but it sounded really freaking crazy. Like I never had this before. I have these plastic things in my cab. My truck when drove off by itself apparently by, when I was away from it and not like I have all this stuff. It's kind of like not adding up. It isn't adding up. And then that day was the day that I'm unloading the trailer and look up and they have a camera in the trailer, the only camera in the yard, the only trailer with a camera on it. And I have it and it's sitting and I'm sitting there looking at a camera. Holy shit. So again, that's 26 of 28. That's just this guy. And this is the guy, by the way, the guy who believes that shadow men follow him everywhere he goes. Yeah. Let's see. Declaration of Matthew Bromberg, PhD. He got a PhD in electrical engineering from University of California, Davis, and a master's degree in mathematics. Oh, this is one of the mathematicians. He lives in Wisconsin. Given the data sources referenced in this document, I assert that in California, Pennsylvania, and the city of Milwaukee, a simple statistical model of vote fraud is a better fit to the sudden jump in Biden vote percentages amongst the absentee ballots received later in the counting process of the 2020 election. It is also a better fit when constrained to a single large metropolitan area, such as Milwaukee. Given the same data sources referenced in this document. Additionally, I have held top secret and SAP clearances, and I am an inventor of nearly 30 patents, one of which has over 1,000 citations in the field of multiple input, multiple output communications. I assert that, okay, so the statistical model, look at that, dude. I mean, that's math right there. This is the simplest statistical model for computing the probabilities of an election outcome is a binomial distribution. Well, of course, which assigns a probability of P for any given person within the population to select a candidate. P can select this person. If we assume that each person chooses the candidate independently, then we obtain the binomial distribution in the form. This breaks down. Okay. Fraud model. This is what the fraud model looks like. Posterior probability of fraud model. Posterior fraud is the worst. Reported absentee ballots versus time in Illinois. If I'm only using the mathematical information given to me specifically by L. Lynn Wood, this is what my math looks like. Initial Biden percentage, Illinois, absentee ballots, probability of fraud, 0.065%. Before and added Biden fraction. Did you see that? See the 0.065%? Clearly fraud. Reported absentee ballots. If you look at this based on other elections, this is crazy. There's a huge number of ballots. That shouldn't happen. Right. And again, big influx of 3% Biden votes because people voted by mail and it came later. This is just the dumbest thing. This guy is making math assumptions in his statistical analysis that assumes as a baseline a non-pandemic election where most people vote in person. This is the stupidest argument mathematically anyone can make. This, I don't understand the obvious gibberish. Because that's, he's making a statistical analysis of the, this before and after. Gee, you mean this is the amount over the percentage. Notice this is a percentage over time, the initial and the added. Look at this little leap right there. Percentage, meaning that Trump also gained some as well, which, if it had been all Biden, it would have gone to up here, but it wasn't. It brought it down to this. This is so stupid. Biden percentage in Milwaukee. In-person voting, addition of the mail-in vote. Majority of the, it's almost split, but the majority of the vote that was in person split evenly between the two. So Trump's looked even to this, and Trump's only grew a little bit, and his grew a little bit more because of it's Milwaukee. Yeah, see, he's using the 2000, presidential primary, Baseline cumulative fractions sorted by precinct size. He's using a 2000 Florida primary as a baseline. What kind of a moron? Seriously. Think about how dumb you would have to be to buy this, much less sell it. That is stunning. Analysis of the third-party vote count. Gee, I wonder what the third-party number of and again, we're going by percentages over time as opposed to sheer number over time because it doesn't look nearly as shocking. Christ almighty. And honest to God, they want people, like this is Michigan vote percentage versus time, Biden percentage Michigan, probability of fraud, 100%. Get the Melissa Caroni's online too. Tell her to hold, please. That's right. It sounds smart. This is supposed to make you're supposed to get to this point, start flipping, like thumbing through this bullshit and go, oh, well, God, look at these equations. It must be something. Percentage versus ward size. Milwaukee, 11.5. Burp. Evens out. And 100 what? What's your what is this? Okay, figure 9. Where's his reference to figure 9? That's figure 11. Figure 8. Let's see. Okay. Third-party voters offer another way to examine a possible fraud mechanism. Votes can either be switched from third-party candidates to the cheater, or fraudulent ballots that are added to benefit the cheater may not include third-party choices, which no one even remotely suggests that third-party candidates were added in some counties and not in other. The ballot was uniform all the way across Wisconsin. And yeah. For the control example, we look at absentee ballots in the state of Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, the initial absentee ballot count was 117,000, and the number of added absentee ballots was 10,000. When? The reported third party, okay. And by the way, so basically, Massachusetts was actually the seat of this. Massachusetts shouldn't be certified. This is amazing. This is the third party votes. Because, all right, only Trump voters, statistically what this shows you is that only Trump voters voted in person on any statistical level. That we knew ahead of time. Everybody knew that the vast majority of Democrats and the vast majority of third-party candidates weren't going to see it as a political act to vote in person and pretend COVID was fake like Trump voters were. So the Trump voters all came out, and their line was right here, just a little bit below. And then the mail-in ballots were very low for Democrats and absentee, and they popped up over the time that they were counted. And again, that's why he's doing percent over time. This is moron math. Absentee vote percentage versus precinct size in DeKalb. Republican, Democrat, Libertarian. And I'm glad we can see all this. You guys got all this? And basically, they're all the same. Absentee vote percentage versus precinct size. And yeah, most Democrats voted so Democrats had the highest level of them in the primary count, and Republicans had the lowest number. And then in the later ones that came in as mail-in, evened out over time to a basic flat line. And then the Libertarians didn't do shit. But the same wiggle. The exact same wiggle. Honest to God. How is this... yeah. Oh, and Maricopa County as well. So, Biden, Trump, third party. Yeah. And? Georgia, at least 400,000 illegal voters had Biden murdering on 11,000. Yeah, this is the declaration of Matthew Bromberg. Same guy, same kind of statistical model idea based on primaries and regular elections in non-pandemic years. Affidavit of Ursula Wolf. Ooh. Absentee ballots submitted without consent. How dare they? People were given ballots they didn't want because the state didn't want people coming out in public if they didn't absolutely have to. So you had that option automatically. That part's just goofy. And he's going to do the same run. You're supposed to, again, this is padding. He's adding, look at this. Same shit. He's filing it in every chat. It's a repetition. It's the same, it's the actual same ones. They're just adding part of his to every single one. Unbelievable. Sorry to get you guys caught up into the documentation of this or whatever, but it was just like this part's ridiculous. And when they say, like I said, when they go on and on about how, oh my God, so much stuff, we have so much stuff, thousands of pages. Well, we've just seen repeatedly that they will put in the same shit multiple times. I declare under penalty exceeded 17. They called the polling place to confirm that my vote counted, but I was told to call back on November 12th. Next day, I received a letter stating that my provisional ballot had been counted. I still am concerned because I do not know for certain that there's an early vote cast by an unknown person that may have canceled out my vote and I cast at Spring Creek Church. No, because if you fill out a provisional ballot, it spoils the previous ballot. And this dude, this is one of these assholes who got busted for trying to vote twice. All the Trump voters that were told to vote twice, and they went in and they did a provisional ballot because they couldn't admit they'd already voted, so they're lying. She said, he said, I cast my provisional ballot, I signed the affidavit, and voided my absentee ballot was returned. And my voided absentee ballot was returned to me. I cast my provisional vote, I signed the affidavit, and my voided absentee ballot was returned to me. Good God. So anyways, this is, there's plenty of this joyful noise to be read for hours and hours. But for the record, whoops, that's the wrong page. That when Rudy Giuliani says we have hundreds of pages of stuff, and when Trump says it, he's sitting there flipping through that pile of shit. Oh, we have a flood of Russian bots. But it's helping us boost, so that's cool. I haven't thanked the the bots and the trolls properly today for flood. I mean, look at the numbers we're doing. It's really impressive. We wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for them. But he increased the vote output by 100%. Right, exactly. Jesus. So let me do this real quick. I'm going to show you guys something else, and then let's see, it's 4:20. Look at that. The time rushes by. Don't you know? Oh boy.
Hello and Happy New Year.
Oh my God. When did this one come out? January. Wait, is this brand new? It is. Shit. Ugh. Hello and Happy New Year. Oh God, this is loud.
This is Rudy Giuliani with Rudy's Common Sense.
Or lack thereof.
Another episode delving into, in this case, a very historic occasion. January 6th, 2021 will be a day that lives in history.
Yeah, it'll be embarrassing for the Republican Party. It will show that they are actually the party of landowners and landholders and gravel as opposed to democracy. But you look great. Keep talking.
It'll be
stupid, a waste of time, an exercise in futility, embarrassing, stupid. Did I say stupid already?
On a par with 3 prior occasions where a dispute of this magnitude occurred.
Okay. 1776, 1772, and 1841.
In the selection of our president. In 1800, in the disputed election between Jefferson and Burr,
Where somebody gets shot. So we're going to have a duel.
where they became tied and it had to be decided in the Congress.
There was no, yeah, except this isn't a tie.
The election of 1886 between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden, which ended up with the
Tell us the whole story.
gentleman with the fewer electoral votes, Hayes, becoming the president of the United States, based on a ad hoc commission that was put together to help make the decision. Then, of course, the election of
You mean before we had 50 states and telephones?
2000 between Bush and Gore,
When Gore actually won Florida,
which ended up getting decided in the Supreme Court.
which one state division by 500 votes.
So now we have
A waste of time.
another disputed election.
No, we don't. We don't have a disputed election. We have assholes who are disputing the election. We don't have a disputed election. You understand? This is an important distinction. You know what I mean? That's like saying we have a crappy movie because Rudy didn't like the movie, when everybody else liked the movie and the movie's fine and we all saw the movie. We all watched the movie together. It was a good movie. Some people liked it more than others, but nobody thought it was crap. But Rudy thinks it's a television show.
Of that magnitude, possibly even greater,
No.
in which Joseph Biden
One.
appeared to receive
One.
the most electoral votes
And the most popular votes by far.
within a week or two after the election. It took a long time to count the ballots.
Yeah, which is in a pandemic.
But in which the sitting president,
Is, he's sitting on the toilet right now.
Donald Trump, has raised serious questions about
I wouldn't call them serious questions. I'd call them ridiculous. But please.
6 to 10 states
6 to 10.
in which it appears as if there
He lost even worse than we thought, but by the shenanigans that you guys tried to make sure he won those states, and he won anyways, you're going to use your failed attempts to say that there was actual shenanigans, even though there were your shenanigans.
was stealing that went on.
Well, no. You attempted to steal it, and you're attempting to steal it now, but stealing didn't go on. It will cease.
Of a very, very large magnitude. It doesn't just appear that way.
It doesn't even appear that way.
The president has presented in state legislatures, namely in
He hasn't presented shit in state legislatures.
Pennsylvania, in Georgia, and in Arizona, substantial evidence in the way of witnesses, documents, videotapes, expert analysis of data.
Expert analysis.
Presented a very, very strong case that in each one of the states that we'll mention, there was significant voter theft to such an extent that it changed the result. In other words, these were states that Trump had won that were changed by various methods of voter fraud, the most frequent of which was to miscount, to secretly count the mail-in ballots, and also to produce fraudulent mail-in ballots
could you
to
say that?
supplement the vote that Biden
Sorry,
didn't
can you say that
receive.
part again? I missed what you were saying. Can you? Yeah, one more second.
This ballots count
Yeah.
the mail-in ballots, and also to produce fraudulent mail-in ballots to supplement the vote that Biden didn't receive. This evidence is in the form of, as I said, affidavits from witnesses, 1,000
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, I read some of those out loud just before you came on, Rudy. They're not very impressive. I mean, they're a lot of fun. The Shadow Man's testimony about what happened to his favorite trailer. My dad had had a friend who had a dog named Trailer, and and every time that dude would talk about Trailer, it would make me think of that poor thing.
Probably 100 of which have testified in legislatures around the country. Videotape that we can discuss, and then then expert witness examination of statistics and expert witness examination of the Dominion machines, which at least in the occasion of the 22 machines that have been examined, showed that the machines were not only able to be changed in almost any way you wanted to, but in fact were changed. Switched 6,000 votes.
Right.
from Biden to Trump in just one small area.
Right. One small
The
area.
rest of those Dominion machines all around the country have not been examined.
No.
Because they're mostly Democrat, although in some cases Republican election officials and governors
Sure.
are for some reason concealing the machines.
Huh.
They're not
Really?
allowing an examination of them.
They're not?
And they're not allowing an examination of the mail-in ballots, which the Trump campaign maintains. Some of those ballots are false and fraudulent. In fact, thousands and thousands of them are false and fraudulent.
Sounds like it.
So the disputes are strongest, biggest.
Wait, sorry.
And of
I got distracted for a second there.
Ballots are false and fraudulent. In fact, thousands and thousands of them are false and fraudulent. So the disputes are strongest, biggest, and of a magnitude that would change the result of the election if the fraudulent votes for Biden were discounted and the legitimate votes for Trump were recognized. It would change the result in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Wisconsin, and New Mexico. So
Now,
each one of those is...
Wait, real quick. Captain Farts a lot. Listen, I know I'm not taking this very seriously, but we've done this so many times, and all of these lies are... I don't know how many times I have to go over these stupid things before I just can't... I don't even have to bother anymore. You know what I mean? This is just like... Okay. We've covered like every lie he tells. And at a certain point, this is the best we need to come up with. Like, it's all it warrants. This is all the response it actually warrants. If you're going to call me an idiot, at least use the apostrophe RE. I honestly, I mean, I know you guys are trying hard to troll. Again, it's hard out there for a troll. But for the record, like, the president and his lawyers have not made this case in any court. They've failed every single time.
Being challenged.
Is Facebook stopping and freezing simply because of the fart sounds? Is that why?
Each one of those has a separate set of electors. So you have two sets of electors.
No, there's one set of certified electors in each state.
Democrat electors
No.
for Biden, the Trump
No.
electors, Republicans for Trump.
No. These are not states that split their electors based on, percentage of the vote.
And both have been sent to the president of the Senate, who happens to be the vice president. And when the Electoral College meets, which is what January 6, 2021 is all about, when the Electoral College meets, there will be a certain challenge to at least those 6 slates of electors.
Right.
So Arizona would be the first to come up in alphabetical order.
Right.
And you can expect when that comes up, the objection will be raised by one member of Congress and one member of the Senate.
Sure.
Which is what has to be done under the Electoral
Constitution
Count Act of 1877. But before we get to that...
Yeah, guys, we're ahead of ourselves. Whoa, 60%, 59. Although that's a lot of early votes, we'll see.
It's not even certain what the procedure should be.
Yes, it is. The vice president counts the votes. He doesn't change the votes. Everybody can object. But another state's senators and House members can't seek to nullify the votes of another state without denying their own and the other state's statehood, which seems kind of contrary to Republican orthodoxy, but...
Because the Electoral Count Act of 1877, although it's been there since 1877, is of questionable constitutionality.
Oh, okay. So we're going to the Supreme Court with the fact that the vice president just gets to count the votes and not override them. Never mind the fact that nobody none of the founding fathers would put a position in where the ruling party could override the electoral votes or the popular vote to keep themselves in power like a king. if there was anything that was antithetical to the original meaning of the Constitution, it's that.
It's been there forever. Its constitutionality has never been challenged.
Because it's never needed to be, because we never had a crook as big as Donald Trump in there. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. So far, by the way, just so you know, 2020 U.S. election results for this, this just started. So there's 9% reporting. Ossoff and Warnock are ahead. Now, I don't know, and we will find out over the course of this, whether this is because they were able to count votes early, or this is the lead in the in-person voting, and we haven't even gotten to the other stuff. So we'll watch this as it goes along. Good sign so far, though, but we'll see. It's going to be a nail-biter.
And it has very serious problems.
Great. So, okay. What are we doing here, Rudy?
It's been there since It's not even certain what the procedure should be, because the Electoral Count Act of 1877, although it's been there since 1877, is of questionable constitutionality. It's been there forever. Its constitutionality has never been challenged.
It's never had to be. This is the problem that they have with it. I don't think the Senate for the Trump administration can make chaotic legislative period more tumultuous. Many Americans know that the counting of all the votes in November is going to take extra time, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the 1887 Electoral Count Act seems like an obscure piece of political trivia, but ahead what it could be one of the most contested. Okay, there we go. Let's look at this. We'll see if we can find the actual... Congress shall be in session on the 6th day of January. Succeeding every meeting of the electors, the Senate and House representatives shall meet in the hall of the House, the representatives at the hour of 1 o'clock in the afternoon of that day, and the President of the Senate shall be their presiding officer. 2 tellers shall be previously appointed on the part of the Senate and 2 on the part of the House of Representatives, to whom shall be handed as they are opened by the President of the Senate all the certificates and papers purporting to be the certificates of the electoral votes, which certificates and papers shall be opened, presented, and acted upon in alphabetical order of the states, beginning with the letter A, just in case you were concerned about what the alphabetical order would be. And said tellers, having then read the same in the presence and hearing of the 2 houses, shall make a list of the votes as they shall appear from the said certificates. And the votes, having been ascertained and counted according to the rules in this subchapter, provided the result of the same shall be delivered to the President of the Senate, who shall thereupon announce the state of the vote, which announcement shall be deemed a sufficient declaration of the persons, if any, elected President, Vice President of the United States, and together with the list of votes be entered on the journals of the 2 houses. Notice this whole part right there. Who shall thereupon announce the state of the vote? Every objection shall be made in writing and shall state clearly and concisely and without argument the ground thereof, and shall be signed by at least 1 senator and 1 member of the House. What we're talking about. When all objections so made to any vote or paper from the state shall be received and read, the Senate shall thereupon withdraw, and such objection shall be submitted to the Senate for its decision, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives shall in like manner submit such objections to the House for its decision. No electoral vote or votes from any state which shall be regularly given by electors whose appointment has been lawfully certified to accord with the Section 6 of the title, from which but 1 return has been received, shall be rejected. But the 2 houses concurrently may reject the vote or votes when they agree that such a vote or votes have not been so regularly given by electors whose appointment has been certified. So, do you understand see what that is? There you go. That's the whole why you can relax tomorrow. Both of them, the House and the Senate, both have to agree not to count the certified electors that came from the state. If more than 1 return or paper purporting to be a return of the state shall be received by the President, then these votes and those only shall be counted, which shall be regularly given by the electors who are shown by the determination of Section 5 of this title to have been appointed if the determination. So that's you can't have a second set of electors. If the determinant said section provides shall be made, or by such successors or substitutes in case of vacancy in the board of electors so ascertained. That's if somebody's sick, they're supposed to be elector and they can't show up. That's the whole thing. That's the whole kit and caboodle. And he thinks that their real case in this situation, folks, is that they will be able to, they think this is unconstitutional. It isn't.
And it has very serious problems.
It has no problems.
There are several law review articles, one in University of North Carolina's
That should do it.
law review,
Let me guess, was it written somewhere around slavery?
then another in the Rutgers Journal of Law and Public Policy, and numerous others in which it is very, very strongly argued that the Electoral Count Act of 1877 is unconstitutional. This would be a good opportunity to take
To sell some cigars.
My friends, if you want to help
Oh, gold, sorry. Or no, AARP for right-wingers, right? That's the whole thing. Type anus.rudy. Okay, if you want to save some money on that. I just want to help himself.
today, we'll get back to the analysis of these very interesting and somewhat complex options.
Yeah, it's somewhat.
So here are the options, and
There are none.
I'll try to simplify them,
For, his normal viewers.
and we'll see which one is actually utilized
None.
and what the final result is.
Okay.
So let's say you follow the Electoral Count Act of 1877,
Okay, sure. All right.
the act that has never been tested for constitutionality,
Because it has never been required.
and the act that has been attacked by many scholars as unconstitutional.
And by many, we
Largely
mean the
because
one.
it take-
By many, we mean one article from the University of South Carolina.
Power away from the House of Representatives and the state legislatures that had been given by the Constitution to them, which can't be taken away just by Congress. That's the short and simplified version of why these professors and
By the way, you should breathe a huge sigh of relief watching this horse shit. Because after all their flailing and wailing and gnashing of teeth, and there's senators and their exhibits and all this kind of stuff, and there's Sidney Powell's cracking and this, tomorrow, the root of what Rudy Giuliani thinks is their argument is that they are going to challenge the constitutionality of the perfunctory act of reading this stuff in front of and entering it into the record. Can you imagine you believe in that there was election fraud and you're telling all your supporters this and you're raising a shit ton of money and you boil it down to what's your final plan of attack? What is it? Oh, why is his Apple logo sideways? Because it's an iPad. It's not a laptop, Ben. Yeah, he's using an iPad sideways. So that's why it's seriously, think on that for just 1 second, okay? This is the root. This is the final act. This is all they have left in the canon. This is the very last option available to them, is to challenge the constitutionality of the perfunctory act of reading into the record the electoral votes. This is the dumbest, low-rung, this is almost as dumb as the math we saw. Yeah, exactly. What happened to the Kraken? They ain't no Kraken. By the way, any of the Qs or the maggots or Trumpsters that are watching, ain't no Kraken. There isn't. Ain't no Kraken when she's gone. This is supposedly the Kraken. This whole thing. Thousands and thousands. We have to, sign this, see the evidence. This is the thing that you're talking about. This is Sidney Powell's petition. This is Ellen Wood and Sidney Powell's site. This is where they're driving people to try and get a copy of this to every, member of the Congress to read. And what they're sending it to the senators and the Congress people is this whole thing. And you're supposed to be so impressed by the volume of bullshit in this thing that, like, the thickness, make them print it out. that this giant pile of garbage with all this is the Kraken. That's it. It's the butt Kraken. It's the Kraken of the butt. Outright voter fraud. Check. Check here. Check. Check. Seriously, that's it. We made a... Guys, I made a graphic. This is in your evidence package. This isn't in your argument package. This is in your evidence package. Now, understand that when you're making a legal case, there are parts where you might put up this thing as a table up in court and go, this, and this. We've proved this and this. But that's your argument phase. That is not in your evidentiary packet. That's not evidence. That's your argument. Any court will tell you that, which is why they keep getting thrown out. Because their entire packet of quote-unquote evidence is argument. And none of it is substantial. Their math doesn't hold up. Their witness statements are bullshit. Half the stuff isn't signed or it's gibberish. Most of the affidavits they have don't even get the pronouns of the women right. And then they throw in tabs like this and they're like, this is the Kraken. Sign your name to the Kraken and mail it. Right. It's dumb. And even with the Kraken being released, and, no time like the president. I mean, they're only counting the votes tomorrow, right? They're only adding them into the record and doing the perfunctory thing where Joe Biden will become president. And he's going to be. He's the president-elect. He's going to win. I'm sorry. He shit all over your candidate. You lost. He lost to the guy he called Sleepy Joe. You were convinced he had dementia and all these other things. And you couldn't decide whether he was a doddering old fool who can't put a sentence together or he's a masterful Don Corleone criminal character who controls a spider web of all these amazing, criminal activities, right? So, okay, yes, that one definitely is, yes. As far as the scammers go. Mm-hmm. So over the course of this, Biden. So imagine having all this shit, just page after page and thousands of affidavits, right? Remember, understand what they say their case is versus what their case actually has, right? So... And then understand that Rudy Giuliani's entire closing argument, this is the closing argument. Shit happens tomorrow, kid. Like, that's it. That tomorrow, his big argument is they're going to challenge the constitutionality of the Vote Counting Act of 1877 and take it all the way to the Supreme Court.
Law review articles have, over the years, argued that it's illegal and unconstitutional.
No, they haven't. It's just dumb. Like, nobody gives a shit. It's an exercise. Do you realize that law reviews and law professors and first-year law students and people writing their dissertations and stuff over time are often given assignments to argue the constitutionality or lack thereof of everything in the Constitution itself and every ancillary law ever written, as an exercise in how to make those arguments. So just because somebody even files something that says this is unconstitutional doesn't mean they actually believe it. But we'll go beyond that right now. Let's assume that there are 3 people in 100 years who've written articles about how they don't think counting the votes is constitutional. Gee whiz. You think they came from a slave state or anything? You're going to tell me they came from a state where you have to drive through Lynchburg to get to Whitesville?
Let's assume you follow it.
Mm-hmm.
What it says is the Electoral College comes together, call the roll. When the state of Arizona comes up, you can expect that there'll be an objection from the Republican Congress member, a Republican Congress member, and a Republican senator. As soon as that objection is made, the joint body has to separate according to the act. Or the Senate's got to go back to the Senate chamber and leave the much larger House of Representatives chamber. And for 2 hours, they both have to debate.
They don't have to debate for 2 hours. There's 2 hours available for debate. They don't have to use all 2 hours. As a matter of fact, they can jump right through it. Mitch McConnell very well may go, okay, we're going to have a couple of these assholes read their remarks into the record, but I'm not letting you all stand up, all 12 of you, on every state and read a 10-minute statement.
Arizona. Was the vote legitimate? Wasn't it legitimate? Which set of electors are the proper electors? In the case of Arizona, Republicans will raise the number of non-citizens that voted, which go beyond the margin of difference between Biden.
Yeah, that might explain Trump doing better with non-white citizens and and Hispanics in that area because they're counting all the illegals that he brought into the country to vote for him and then kicked back out, right?
And Trump,
I'm kidding. There were none.
They will raise the number of votes that were entered without observation by Republicans or secretly voted. They will argue.
There were none.
The number of out-of-state people that.
Yeah, we don't give a shit what they're going to argue. And by the way, they're not going to argue that. They're going to argue that you're arguing that, and then they're going to say, "This, I want this entered into the record." Okay.
Voted, and they'll also argue about the Dominion machines, which are alleged to have an algorithm that gave Biden a distinct advantage.
Which they don't,
in this case,
and they
it would
didn't.
Be in Maricopa County, which is the largest county, where those machines were used.
It's weird that you don't give a shit about any of the other counties where he lost.
There are a series of other objections.
We need it to be the biggest county so that we can pretend.
To Arizona, where if you counted them up, you'd have about 130, 140,000 votes that
For Trump?
would change.
Right, that you would, that you'd have a bunch of Trump votes that would go to Biden?
From
Trump to Biden because Biden really got those votes, and you had Republican operatives in the state messing with the voter rolls, and they just didn't do enough of them, so it was too close, and you lost. But you want, all right, from Trump to Biden,
from a vote for Biden to a vote for Trump.
They already did that. They have to go back to who they really were for.
Got to be debated. Then both houses come back and they report to the chairman of the president, actually. He's called the president of the Electoral College. And that is none other than Vice President.
What's his name? President. Yeah, that's him. What's his name?
None other than the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, who then has to decide what to do.
Yeah, I think they're on the counter up there. Or if they're not in the bedroom then. I think so.
And according to the law, unless the two houses vote together,
unless both House and Senate, one run by a senator who isn't for this, and the other run by Nancy Pelosi, who thinks this is a laughable waste of time, unless they agree.
Electors sent by the state to the Electoral College are seated. Which would mean, in the case of Arizona, the group for Biden.
And then 2 more hours of time will be wasted.
And that will go on and on.
Until we've wasted 10 hours.
Until you get to the end of the group.
Until we get to reality.
Of states. In each case where an objection is raised by a member of the Senate and a member of the House, any member.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, any.
From any state. So, if the state of
ridiculousness. Yeah, just a state. Let me just I'm going to pick a state out of the hat. One we have to win. I'll go with Georgia.
Georgia comes up.
Right.
And there's an objection to Georgia by 2 members. Then a separate debate takes place on Georgia.
And then that will fail, and then?
Michigan or Wisconsin, on and on and on. And there may well be debates on states that I haven't even mentioned. These are the ones.
Yeah, please just, go on. And, are any of these people attacking their own states besides Kelly Loeffler?
That have evidence, substantial evidence.
Okay, so none of them then.
Of both voter fraud and amounts of voter fraud that go way beyond the margin between Biden and Trump. So they surely will be argued. A state like Pennsylvania, when you look at all the evidence,
So the senators from Pennsylvania are going to argue against their own state. That's going to happen. Are Congress people from Pennsylvania going to be arguing against their own state? Cool.
that the Republicans have
Oh, they aren't. Right. It's another state. So Texas is going to try and override the will of 8 other states.
obtained, most dramatic of which is the inspectors or the watchers who were excluded, so that 680,000
None were.
votes were counted secretly.
No, they weren't.
In Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. If that evidence is taken into consideration,
There is no evidence. You have affidavits from people who are insane,
then
which aren't signed and have the wrong pronouns,
that
and they won't testify to it under oath.
state goes from a loss for Trump of about 85,000 to a win of about 400,000 or 500,000.
Yeah, sure. Wait for that. When does that happen? About 9 o'clock tomorrow night? Are you selling popcorn?
Remember, Pennsylvania was a state that he was winning by 800,000
Before they counted half the state's votes.
before they
Millions of them.
called off the count
They didn't call off the count.
and then inserted about 600,000 ballots in the middle of the night, of which almost all were for Biden.
You mean the mail-in
You can see
votes?
this evidence is very, very powerful,
Is it?
and it could lead to massive changes in what happens.
Uh-huh.
Well, once that's all done,
Yeah, once that's all done, we go back to reality.
you'll be able to determine the electoral vote.
It's already been determined.
That's going to be recognized.
Yeah, it's the one that everybody's already certified.
And if that vote is over 270 for either candidate,
It's 306 for Biden.
and going in, Biden
Although I'm open to your argument if it means Trump loses a few electoral votes, which is entirely possible.
has those votes,
Because I don't think he won Florida, Ohio, Kentucky, or Texas.
but Trump has very, very strong arguments in
Against bathing?
7 states
7.
that would take those votes away from him. But if anyone gets 270,
Why is he doing the Africa right now? Africa right now. All right.
then that person would be the President of the United States if you follow the Electoral Count Act.
You do.
If
Please take this all the way to the Supreme Court, Rudy. Please. After the certification tomorrow, this is the strategy they're selling to Trump. This is the money they're making off this asshole. It's just occurred to me that beyond them thinking this is their last chance, this is what we're watching. This is amazing. We are watching Rudy Giuliani arguing to Trump that after he loses tomorrow, which he is absolutely going to, that Rudy is going to go, what we're going to go is to the Supreme Court and file a lawsuit. This is where we get standing. That the 1877 Vote Counting Act is unconstitutional. This is him selling their case. By the way, not going to happen. and every argument he's made so far that has failed was just really leading up to this masterful scheme to file a lawsuit in the Supreme Court against the 1877 Vote Counting Act, which is, other than a ruling that obliterates the Electoral College and makes it a popular vote going forward, there is no remedy the Supreme Court can create.
neither candidate is at 270,
And the electoral count doesn't factor. Trump doesn't win. He's no longer president. Nancy Pelosi's in charge.
then immediately
I don't care if Trump concedes. He lost. It's like the dude who tripped at the starting line just can't get it through his head. He didn't get a gold medal. Who gives a shit?
Immediately. The Constitution says immediately, which means the next minute. Everything breaks down.
That's the goal. That's what you want. Has Putin ever wanted more?
The House goes back to the House. The Senate goes back to the Senate. The choice of president is given to the House of Representatives, and the choice of vice president is given to the Senate.
So Mike Pence will be chosen by...
And that's how you get there. You get there if there is less than a majority in the Electoral College.
He thinks this is playing out.
And I just demonstrated to you under the Electoral Count Act how that could happen.
It's not going to happen. That's after both the House and the Senate both agree on all the states that would lower the count of Biden below 270, of which there are none. But please keep going.
It could happen based on the debates. And if 3 states, let's say...
The biggest ones, the ones we need the vote from. Thanks, Jay.
Just about any 3 states.
Yeah, just about any 3 states. But 3 big swing states. Pennsylvania has to be one of them.
This group were taken away from Biden. Even if they weren't given to Trump, you would go below 270, and you'd have to go to the House of Representatives. Now you say, well, that would lead, obviously, to the election of Biden, because the House of Representatives, although the margin has been dramatically decreased to about 9, maybe 10, I guess it hasn't been decided yet, well, would decidedly go to Biden, so it's all over. Just the opposite.
Oh, no. Nancy Pelosi, of course, is going to give it to Trump.
The Constitution creates a different vote or different type of voting for the House of Representatives. It says in the case of it selecting a president this way, they vote as a delegation.
Right. Individual. Each state gets 1 vote. By the way, this is after all the states apparently have given up their right to be states.
In other words, no matter how many Congress members you have, got 1 vote. So Wyoming, that has only 1 congressman, has 1 vote.
Right. And all the states that voted for Biden that were overrun by Texas because they would like to maintain their sovereignty, like Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, will all have their 1 congressperson chosen to speak on behalf, vote for Biden.
In California...
I mean, this is just a jerk off, but whatever. This is watching him talk. This is literally trying to watch a man talk Trump's wallet out of his back pocket.
It seems to have thousands of Congress people, gets 1 vote. Everybody gets 1 vote. Now, if you take a good look, the Republicans have the majority. Republicans have, in the new Congress, I believe it's 26 to 23, and 1 is a tie. I believe that's Pennsylvania. I think this would be a good opportunity now
to sell some cigars.
Take a short break.
Told you. God damn, it's so gross. Okay, I'm jumping ahead.
Smoke.
Hashtag use the promo code mouth cancer. Okay.
/Rudy. Let's get back to the...
By the way, let's get back to talking about smoke-filled rooms where people make deals to subvert democracy.
Discussion of this. I hope this is making it easier.
No, it's making it very difficult.
For what's going to happen and what you're going to have to follow on January 6th.
No. It's not going this far. That's ridiculous. No one's even worried about this. This is goofy. This is like arguing if Superman was flying when he punched the Hulk, technically he could punch harder than the Hulk as long as he didn't make the Hulk angry.
Vote by party line. If they vote in a partisan way, then Trump, if it goes to the House, would win.
That's if everybody becomes an immediate Trump sycophant and wants to sell democracy down the river on his behalf, and there's no guarantee that happens.
But they don't necessarily have to vote that way.
Right.
But he would go in with the advantage.
Why is that?
Now,
because he has a small, crazy minority?
Here's another different scenario.
This will be good. Okay. All right, different scenario. All right.
That one is the scenario
that's you pulled out of your right ass cheek.
If you follow the Electoral Count Act of 1877.
And the rest of this one, the other argument resides deep inside Rudy's colon. Okay, here we go.
which, by the way, just in case you're interested in the history of it, was put into effect right after the Hayes-Tilden disputed election, in which Hayes won, even though he had less electoral votes.
Which they were trying to correct, and that's what Trump is trying to do. And this act was put in place to keep a Trump from happening in this situation.
Because Tilden could never get to a majority. So they set up this whole procedure for how to do it. The problem is,
there's a lot more states now.
from the time it was passed, and it's never been used, and it's never been tested by the court, a large number of constitutional law scholars,
Like 3.
and I don't put myself in that category as
No one does.
a scholar, but I did get an A in constitutional law in law school.
Well, it was much simpler back then because there was only 80,000 people living in the whole country.
And I argued a case before the Supreme Court, and I spent a great deal of time
And lost it.
reading and thinking about the Constitution and debating it. And of course, constitutional law involves almost every case you ever prosecute.
No, it doesn't.
Questions.
Nobody. No, there. I mean, what? Are you going to go with search and seizure? All right.
So that the Constitution comes up. So I'm a pretty good, knowledgeable source on the Constitution.
Great. Let's hear it.
But constitutional scholars who spend all their time looking at this, a very significant number of them believe firmly
No.
that the Electoral Count Act of 1877 is absolutely unconstitutional. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining it.
Because you can't.
It's extremely detailed. The article in the University of North Carolina Law Review, I think, is about 60 or 70 pages.
Crazy. Someone writes a law article about the constitutionality of a law, and it's like over 50 pages. When does that shit happen? By the way, if there's lots of these people, again, why are you citing one source twice?
And I kind of wouldn't force it on you, but if you want to.
I mean, look, I'm not a 15-year-old interviewer.
It was published in 2002.
Great. Super. Let me guess. It was a way of fighting back against Bush v. Gore?
Or you could go to the shorter version, which
Yeah, do that. Get to the,
is
short.
the Rutgers Journal of Law and Public Policy on the unenforceability of the Electoral
Thanks,
Count
Bean
Act.
Toes.
So you get the idea of their conclusion.
Yeah, obviously.
The unenforceability of the Electoral Count Act. Their
The unenforceability of it.
conclusion is that it was unconstitutional by Chris Land and David Schultz.
Okay, so that's 3 people.
That's a shorter article,
Thank God.
maybe a little easier to read.
Then 60 pages?
They come to the same conclusion, slightly different reasons.
Well, then they don't come to the same conclusion.
The main reason the Electoral Count Act of 1877
Do they,
is, I
Melody?
believe, unconstitutional is because it changes the balance of power. It changes the balance of power within the Congress, and it changes the balance of power with the states. The Constitution, as I
No, it doesn't.
think we've all learned in the last
Unless it gives too much power to the states. You going to make that argument?
month and a half, the Constitution gives the choice of electors to the state legislature.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It gives the manner of choosing. I mean, we've talked about this a dozen times. This dipshit, he lost when he was in front of the Supreme Court. This asshole thinks that we haven't looked up this clause that he references all the goddamn time. The Constitution gives the state legislature the manner and number of the electors. And if they write a law that says the Board of Elections do it, then that's how they have chosen to do it. And they can't undo their laws without going through whatever the state legislature, the state constitution says is the proper way of dismantling a law. And usually it's a 60-vote majority in a lot of ways.
Electoral Count Act, if there's a dispute and it's sent back, it's the governor who decides on the electors. Well, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that the state legislature should share its power with anyone.
Yeah, it does. This is the malleability of the Constitution. By putting this act in and having it stand, What it means is that the people who chose them, the state legislature that sent the electors, fucked around and messed it up and therefore can't be trusted. So then now the governor of the territory is responsible for coming up with the electors because the state legislature has failed and sent two groups. They cannot be trusted with the choice in this instant.
And Congress doesn't have the power to do that without amending the Constitution. So essentially...
Yes, he did. Yeah, I mean, just for this reason. You don't have to... If you find out the state legislature is completely bribed and bought off, and they all leave power, they've all, like, literally in this situation, they all hire a bunch of electors that violate the Constitution, and they bring in their brother and people who are going to get contracts and shit like that to throw the election for, their electoral votes to another candidate so that they can gain favor with that candidate later against the will of the people that they operate there. And all those people, all the state legislature, they all get arrested and thrown in jail, and a new election, a special election has to occur. The rest of the country doesn't have to wait while Pennsylvania fucks around and finds a bunch of new electors after they go through a whole election for their state legislature. The governor can then pick them. This is a never happen scenario. It's just dumb.
Congress has taken away...
53-47 Warnock. It's going to be tight, but it's going to be like that.
The exclusive role at the state level of the state legislature deciding on the electors. And it's given it to the executive.
Because the legislature failed in their duty to provide proper electors.
Which the Constitution and the 12th Amendment deliberately didn't do.
All right. If at any point they fail, the state legislatures fail in their duty within the Constitution of the individual states, that power goes up the chain, not down.
Which would make that part of the act unconstitutional.
No, it wouldn't.
Also, the Constitution gives the role...
The legislatures do not have the right to be criminal.
...of selecting the president...
There is nothing in the Constitution that allows the legislature to be criminal.
Should there be a lack of a majority or, in essence, a dispute, gives it solely to the House of Representatives. It gives the choice of vice president to the Senate. This law, the Electoral Count Act, involves the Senate intimately in the choice for president because the Senate is involved in every objectionable slate. It gets 2 hours to debate it, and it gets an equal vote with the House of Representatives, which, again,
won't go their way.
Changes the balance of power between the House and the Senate without changing the Constitution. It's done by the Congress, which is a classic reason why something's unconstitutional. So let's assume that it is unconstitutional.
Sure, let's just assume it's unconstitutional. He said he got an A on a paper in law school and argued a case he lost in front of the Supreme Court.
It is unconstitutional. Then we go back to the Constitution and the 12th Amendment to the Constitution. And when that electoral college meets, person in charge is the president of the Senate, the vice president of the United States, and it simply says that the ballots will be open and counted. It doesn't exactly say who counts them, but
Yes, it does. They are counted. They are added together in the rolls. The vice president announces.
The tradition had been that the vice president counts them.
No, it isn't. He announces the contents. He doesn't count them.
And let me give you one great historical precedent.
Okay, let's go back. It's going to be cool.
It was the election of 1800, the first really disputed election.
Yeah, it's a great piece of history. Can we do one when we had phones?
And Jefferson...
How about computers? Can we do anything that happened during a time when cars existed? All right.
And Burr, although they were running as president and vice president, ended up tied. And Burr was supposed to defer.
It's a great story. You do realize the electoral votes had to be carried in on horseback, and people were often killed on their way to deliver them in this. Okay, but continue.
But he was tied, and the law said he had an equal right to the presidency because they had a tied vote.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to get tied, because Jefferson could have remained 3 electoral votes, I believe it was 3, but whatever the number is, electoral votes behind, the issue came up with the state of Georgia. Very interesting. Georgia again, right? Just like the issues coming up with Georgia this time.
It's very curious. It's interesting.
And
This is, of course, 77 years before the Electoral Vote Counting Act.
Georgia electoral votes have been awarded to Jefferson.
Uh-huh.
However, there was a dispute.
Uh-huh.
And there was an argument that they should be given to another candidate. Now, who decided it?
Who cares?
The President of the Senate decided it. The President of the Senate at the time was the Vice President of the United States, like Mike Pence is. You know?
Right. And 77 years later, after a couple of dick-arounds like this, they decided to make it a perfunctory job so the guy couldn't give himself another job for 4 years.
Who that was? Thomas Jefferson, the guy running for president. Mm-hmm. And you know what he did? He decided it for himself. He said, I look at both. I'll take the electoral votes that selected me. So that precedent says that the decider on these objections would be the President of the Senate, Mike Pence.
No.
And again, if that happens, if he makes decisions, a group of decisions, and the decisions result in
just keep how does this work out? Do you know how many ifs are in this?
no one reaching a majority, then the Constitution again takes over, and immediately it's sent to the House of Representatives and the Senate. And I just remind you again, the House of Representatives gets to vote in a different way. Instead of everybody voting.
One per state. Right. We get that. And you're assuming that all the red states are going to vote with Trump.
It's one vote per delegation, which changes that to an advantage for the Republicans.
Because you can threaten to murder all the red state Republican representatives who don't vote your way. Because you're going to lose.
So I know this is quite
stupid, waste of time, absurd,
complicated, but
childish.
But I hope it helps you because these are the things you're gonna see playing out on January.
Yes, I will. I will post the Flapper Show on Patreon. Yes, they have to send it to me though.
January 6th, 2021. Mm-hmm. Could be any of these scenarios.
Right.
It's hard to think of any others, but I may not have thought of all of them. Take a brief pause, and we'll be right back.
What? Look at that edit.
I may not have thought of all of them. We'll take a brief pause, and we'll be right back.
That's a great edit. I thought that was solid.
I accomplished a lot in 2020, exposing the truth, establishing the relationship with you, working tirelessly for America. And I came to know the work and value of the people at American Hartford Gold.
Of American
you see, you buy gold not only for what you know,
not only for what you know,
buy gold for what
buy
you don't
for
know.
What you don't
American
know.
Hartford Gold is
don't
the company
know
you can
what
trust
Rudy's
when it comes to
talking
buying
about.
gold.
They
sell physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or inside of your IRA.
I know you're
In
thinking,
the precious
what
metals
the fuck
industry,
is
they are the
virtual
highest
gold?
rated
It's
firm
true.
in our country with an
Buy
A+
gold
from the Better Business Bureau and
put
thousands
it
of
in your
satisfied
bunker
clients.
behind your beef
Give them a call
stew.
and tell them
Cans
Rudy sent you.
of
And be sure to
beans.
ask them what I
And
bought.
hide in your tornado
And if you
all
call
the
them
way
right
from
now,
the coming
it will give
storm.
you
Cause
up to
Wizzy Wiggle Giggle
$1,500
Go,
of
QAnon will save us
silver
all. Buy
on
your
your first
gold
order.
from Hartford
Folks, these are
Gold.
uncertain
Don't forget,
times.
hashtag
One thing you
Rudy,
can count on
Rudy,
to protect
Rudy.
what you have
Don't
worked so hard for
forget to
is physical
protect
gold
what
and silver.
you have.
Don't wait.
It's too
Call them now.
important to do it.
833 gold
Why won't you
777.
save it
That's
at
833 gold 777. Or text
6532149.
Rudy to
Put
65532.
text Rudy
Again,
to there
that's
we
833
go.
gold 777. Or text
stupid.
Rudy.
But please, back to harebrained, where we return to our regularly scheduled programming. Rudy Giuliani's harebrained schemes.
Now we'll proceed with a continued analysis of the options
Or lack thereof.
that exist on January 6, 2021, a day that will live in history.
He means infamy, but that sounds bad.
In any event,
Oh, he got lost.
continued analysis of the options that exist on January 6, 2021, a day that will live in history. In any event, there is a good chance that this election will end up in the hands of the House of Representatives.
No, there is no chance.
And there's a really good chance it'll end up in the Supreme Court.
Uh-huh.
Because if any of these decisions that are made, that either Republicans or the Democrats believe are unconstitutional, then they're going to take it right to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court's going to be asked to decide if it's constitutional or not. And then the Supreme Court has to decide, should it take the case? Is this a political question that should be decided by the political branches of government? Or is it a kind of fundamental constitutional law question that should be resolved by the court? And that probably will be the subject of a different podcast if we get to that
Yeah, please. We're going to need to hear more of this, obviously.
point.
Right.
But don't be surprised if this also not only ends up in the House of Representatives, of course, constitutional law involves almost every case you ever dating it.
Back up. What
And
happened?
I
Oh,
don't
it
put
jumped
myself
ahead.
in that
Sorry.
category as a scholar.
Why did it
Entire
jump back?
state. So this is going to be a very, very substantial argument, a very substantial dispute.
No, it's not. It's going to be completely insubstantial.
It could go a lot of different ways.
It's going to go one way.
I, of course, am very invested
And we do mean invested.
because I represent one candidate and one candidate alone, Donald.
Yeah, Trump, not the Constitution, not the American people, not our democracy.
J. Trump, and I'm convinced the election was stolen.
Well, you have to be, because, I mean, what kind of lawyer would you be?
But of course, now you've got to convince other people.
Yeah, and you're doing a shit job.
And I think we've done a pretty good job of getting
No.
our evidence out, even though we've been blocked at every turn by courts that wouldn't allow us to present a single witness.
You were able to present witnesses. What are you talking about? I don't know where that came from. They filed their sources. They have all their affidavits. They can put them in the record. They refused to.
By a media that doesn't cover it.
What responsibility? I'm sorry. Why won't the media cover my show? What is MSNBC, CNN, and MTV hiding? Why won't they put my live stream on Twitch, on network television? Why? What kind of iron curtain of censorship do I live? I deserve to be sick.
So don't be surprised on January 6th of 2021
If we never see Rudy again.
when you hear all of this evidence of voter fraud,
What evidence?
in which in almost every state the numbers get into the hundreds of thousands of votes that were stolen.
No, they don't.
When I say every state that's being questioned.
Yeah. Don't ask him about Ohio, Florida, Kentucky, or Texas. Please do not. Do not.
And the flippin' votes.
Is it my language? Is it? I told Nicole Wallace I will keep my big boy words at home.
In other words, if that evidence
If the evidence about Texas ever gets out, what?
is credited, it changes from very narrow victories by Biden to very big ones by Trump. For example,
Please, yeah.
Pennsylvania will switch from 85,000 win by Biden to about a 400,000 win by Trump.
Yeah, as long as you exclude all black votes. That sounds like a plan. Tell us, Rudy, like you did in your last video about how you're the best mayor that ever happened to black people. But tell us about how black people shouldn't have been allowed to vote in Philadelphia because corruption, black corruption.
Georgia will change from an 11,000 win by Biden
To a 65,000 win by Biden.
to about 120,000 win by Trump. So these are big numbers.
That you've just made up in your head.
It's very compelling evidence, like videotape.
No, it's terrible. We've seen the videotape. I've been through it. How many times have we gone through this videotape?
And
3.
analysis of machines by experts.
Experts. Car mechanics.
And then witnesses who watched 100,000 ballots brought into Michigan in the middle of the night, all for Biden.
Yeah, that's not even what they say in their affidavit. Asshole, why do I know your affidavit's better than you do? That's not even what they allege.
There's powerful evidence, and the only reason you might not appreciate it
Is because it's a lie?
is the unprecedented and really disgusting censorship that has taken place.
What censorship? You're saying this on the internet, dickhead, and you still don't present it. At least in the release of the Kraken, they're dumb enough to release the actual information for people to look at, to go, oh, Oh, I see. This is just filler. Oh, this is like a PowerPoint presentation for QAnon followers. I see.
which is another thing we have to solve in this country. But let's get past this election first. I hope this analysis will help you on.
It helped no one. It was a waste of time, but thank you for letting us all know that you have one possible ace card that you think you have, which is to question the constitutionality of the 1877 Electoral Voting Counting Act in all the way up to the Supreme Court.
On January 6th. I hope it is giving you kind of an outline you can use.
Yeah, outlines are better. We like outlines, right? That's what we watch Rudy for. We've watched a lot of these, and he's big with, I could give you a lot of details, but really, we just look at the big picture.
To understand the various options.
Oh, Rainbow Girl, right on, Suzanne.
Which we still don't know what they're going to be, but
No.
they should fit into these categories. And
Yeah, and what categories are those?
we'll be back in a day or so with another episode.
Uh-huh.
And we'll still be in the middle of this, so let's see where we are.
Well, I'll tell you where you are. You're going to lose tomorrow. There'll be a lot of dicking around. There'll be a lot of gaveling it. They're not going to go and every time they come back have another state. Then the Senate's going to pack up, walk back over. Okay, we did Arizona. Then they come back over and they're going to go, now Georgia, we object. Oh, okay, we'll go back over. And then
And thank you very much for listening in.
We watched this, Rudy. It's a waste of friggin' time. Oh God, that was painful. Thank you guys for being here with me during this torture session I put myself through. Currently, let's look at the electoral setup in Georgia right now. Georgia election results. 43%. Ossoff and Warnock are leading. This is the Associated Press's numbers. Now this is their understanding of the election. There you go. All right. There we go. Let's see. Looking solid. We'll see. Let's see. We grab. We'll go to 538. See what they seem to be saying. That's a significant vote bump. We'll see if these keep coming in. Depends on which areas. Again, bigger cities. Ossoff continues to do more than what he needs to do in all these different areas. That's an interesting trend throughout. These are the places that are getting counted off. You still got 3 big blue areas right in here. These are usually bluish. These are in the process of counting. That's where you have a lot of people. All the red, you'll see they have very few people, which is going to be the frustrating part for a lot of Republicans. Warnock's actually doing better. Look at that. They're still 54-46, but in the process of, there's some people who just didn't vote for Loeffler and at all, I guess. Yeah, they're down. Maybe it's just in the counting of it, in that percentage yet. So 44 of them, yeah, it's basically the same. Fascinating. This is going to be 55-45 with 43% both counted. Like, unless they're, it's currently 44% of the votes reporting coming in. And again, let's see, for what it's worth, the gap between the races is growing a bit. Warnock leads by 11.6, whereas Ossoff leads by 10.8. 0.8 point gap per New York Times. A split outcome still isn't impossible, right? The idea that, but the initial one was that Ossoff would win because he was closer to Purdue, and Warnock would lose because there were more people running that watered down his results. But this is all just, these are linked. So these are going to go wherever they go together in a lot of ways. I mean, it's pretty solid there. You got, 150,000 vote lead by both Democrats. This is exciting. We're going to see what they think at the 538. We don't know what's going on. Let's see. Do they have the regular election poll coverage? Yeah, Ossoff and Warnock are at 49-1, 49-4 over 47-4 and 47-2. You've got, I mean, the significant drop-off that's going to affect this more than almost any other factor is basically Trump being pissed and, yeah, and just driving the vote down. That's pretty, I don't know. Pretty exciting. Bo-bo-bo-doo. We're what? We're 4 away from what? 4 away from 600. Really? That's amazing. I'm still flabbergasted we cleared 500 when we did on Patreon. I don't even know how to process it at this point. At some point, my head will come above water in this and just be amazing. But 596 is incredible. Thank you, guys. Wow. I can't even... all right, I'm going to leave you guys to go watch this because I'm as fascinated as you are, and I will see you guys tomorrow at the regular time, and I will probably stay on longer tomorrow, God help us, as the Senate and all that stuff rolls out, and we'll do live footage of that stuff as it's happening too. So here, let me show you this stuff. Is what I was looking at. I just realized I didn't have it up on screen. I was just looking at it myself. So 49-1, 47-4, these are the polling right before. They're almost identical. With the exception is that Warnock versus Loeffler's actually lower. She shaves off 2 points. So people are invested in Perdue by 0.2% more than they are in Loeffler, and largely it's because they voted for him once before, is the theory, I suppose. But in this case, yeah, we're looking at, here you go, million. There you go. These are coming up. Okay, so how much? 44%? Yeah. So 1 million to, here we go. There's votes coming in. These huge dumps are coming in. Still keeping up with it though. Still, every time they bump up, it's pretty even in the bump up. If this margin holds, wow. And this was what I was saying, Ossoff, doing better in that area. So, and then the longer counting is going to happen via the mail-in vote and the in-person vote in these blue counties. It's going to take longer. They're going to go, all these things came out later, and with all these votes continue to be counted. They're going to whine about larger counties with more people taking longer. So, anyways, breathe deep. Know full well that Rudy's plan is shit and will die tomorrow in a hilarious way, and it'll be a big waste of time. And Rand Paul will eat way too much time, and Ted Cruz will make a stupid speech, and they'll embarrass themselves, and it'll be fun to watch, and then things will roll ahead normally. I'm just telling you, that's how it's going to shake out. There might be occasional QAnon Republican House member who, makes a big stink and tries to gain some, screen time and live tweets while they're talking, or does Instagram live while they're doing it, or waves a gun on the floor. There might be some theatricals like that, but nothing to worry about, honestly. And this is looking fascinating. So go watch it. I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. And like I said, I will be staying on longer. So have a great night. Thank you guys for the support and the love and the stars and the bits and the support and the following and the super chats. And thank you, Bean Toast. And hopefully you guys had a good time tonight. I did, I know. And tomorrow will be even more fun. Peace and be wild.